make them last over probably my lifetime. At least I would say it's going to last me to where I'm going to be satisfied with it for the amount I put into it. Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Not a Pro Gardener here. We are in Zone 6B for any new subscribers. We're going to be building some raised beds today. We want to use the least amount of money possible and effort to gain the most strength for my raised beds here. As you can see, I've built these out of cedar boards off of an old deck, and got a hybrid bed over here of metal and some vinyl plastic. It seems to be doing okay. They've all lasted for a long time so far, but I want something more. So I'm going to show you what I have come up with. It's not perfect like everything, but it is very strong, and it definitely will last my lifetime. We're going to be building these in the garage. We're just trying to get these built right before the garden season. We definitely want to get this done as soon as possible and get them filled. We want that stuff to start breaking down, and eventually when it comes close to planting season, I'll top them with some compost or whatever I can get my hands on. Why do we like to get more raised beds? Well, in-ground gardening is great, but when you have new gardens, they're in that one place, and some people can't have in-ground garden beds. Raised bed gardens have a lot of advantages, not just more spaces to plant more things. They have many benefits to offer. One thing I like about them is they are movable. Except for these bigger ones back here, the smaller ones are movable, and I can take them with me if I move to a different zone or a different location, or I want to move them closer to my house, or on a deck or things like that. The flexibility of them is very nice to have instead of just being stuck in their in-ground garden. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pop a time lapse up here of me putting these beds together out of some old pole barn metal, roofing metal. I'm going to use these leftover pieces I have to make garden beds. I've been trying to, instead of throw things away, repurpose. The tools that I used a drill with an 1/8 of an inch drill bit and some rivets and a rivet gun. And if you have a clamp, that's nice to have because you can clamp one side together. And I put 3 rivets in the bigger beds that I made, and the smaller ones I just put 2 rivets in on each lap. And the lap I'm talking about is where 2 pieces of metal lap over each other, and that's where you want to rivet it. I'll try to show it close up. If you do not want to do this, you could just use screws if you wanted to, but I wanted something that was not going to poke out and eventually cause you harm or anything like that. Some more benefits of these raised bed gardens is they extend the planting season. If designed and planted properly, the beds can lower your weed seed bank. When I mow the grass, I like to have my raised beds tall enough that I'm not going to accidentally shoot some weed seeds in there or blow a bunch of grass in there and cause problems later on for more weeds to pop up. Another problem you could have is you have poor native soil. We have heavy clay soil here, and it's going to take many years to get some organic matter built into the soils here. So to alleviate that option, you could build some raised beds and fill them with, some filler in the bottom so you don't have to spend a bunch of money on that up front, like straw, make sure that there wasn't sprayed with any chemicals or anything. You want to put some wood chips in there, whatever you got that'll help break stuff down. And then on the top foot or so, you want to include some native soil, some topsoil, and then maybe something to amend that with some really good compost for the last 2 inches or so. Another thing is that you do not walk on these beds. In the in-ground garden, when we're weeding and walking through the pathways, we're compacting that soil down, which makes it harder for the plant's roots to work its way around. I mean, we already have heavy clay soil as it is, so when you pack it down, you really pack it down, So it's very nice to not have to be able to walk on it, and you have that loose, fluffy soil. Like carrots, they love to have that loose soil. And with these raised beds, I can grow specific vegetables in these as a benefit. and that is a huge advantage for me because there's some things that it's hard to grow in my in-ground garden bed. So don't stick with just one method. Try to make yourself flexible if you have the time, money, and resources to put into other things. Another advantage of these is if there's an elderly person or somebody that loves to garden that has pain or back pain or some kind of disability, these are up off the ground as high as you make them, and that can be a huge. So as I stated in the thumbnail, these raised garden beds are cheap, easy, and they're very strong with the construction that they have to put together. And where they might rust on the edges or if there's any scratches on them, the paint that's covering them will make them last over probably my lifetime. At least I would say it's going to last me to where I'm going to be satisfied with it for the amount I put into it. Now we're going to go ahead and get them set down, then we're going to talk about them and show you what we got. So let's go. Alright, so these raised beds, they're not going to be like store-bought, beautiful, whenever you recycle metal like this. But this is good enough for me. Now I'm probably going to fill them up with some filler first, so we're going to go ahead and get this stuff dumped in. Now since I'm wanting this to break down as fast as possible, you want to water this stuff as you layer it in. And I want the wood chips on the bottom because they're going to take the longest to break down. I cut holes in the bottom of this weed fabric before I put these down so the worms have a place to get up in there and do their job. But you want to water all this stuff down to help with the breaking down process. Otherwise it's going to take a lot longer. So what I'm putting in here is the sawdust and some hay from a rotten hay bale, which I already used up all the rotten part on my asparagus patch, so now I got down to some decent stuff. And then we're putting in here ashes from our wood stove, and that's some really good stuff right there, that potash. It's going to help establish a good working soil in there so it's not so hard. And eventually I'm going to put some layer of peat moss in there and then a layer of compost. But for now I just wanted to get this started so it could start breaking down, which is the most important part. All that stuff needs to start breaking down, and it's going to sink in a couple more inches as it breaks down probably and smashes and compacts a little bit from the rain and stuff. Alright, so now I got this bed filled up, As you can see, it's about this full, about half full of sawdust, a layer of hay bale without any chemicals on it, and then we put some, about this much potash on it, a big bunch of ashes from our wood burner we have, and then some peat moss on top. Now whenever I get the chance, I'm going to put some topsoil on there and then some compost right before I get to plant, and I'm going to kind of mix it all together really good in both of these. And for somebody's concern, it might be about how the peat moss is acidic, slightly acidic, and can cause you some problems there, but I've never had any problems with it because, well, I haven't really noticed. I've been pretty successful in all my raised beds, and most of them were peat moss when I first started. So that's pretty much how I filled these up. Now let's show you the after construction here. So if you wanted to do these cheaper, for the metal sheets, I think it's roughly $3 to $5 per foot, and this is about a foot, and there's 3 of these sheets that make this up, and they lap, 2 sheets lap over each other, and I riveted them here and here. But instead of buying this car door edge, it's for protecting edges like your car door, it stays on there pretty good, really. Instead of buying that, which was like $9 for 32 feet, you could just use an old garden hose like I did here to stay as cheap as possible to grow your own food. You don't have to spend a bunch of money if you don't need to or don't want to. Some people just can't, and I'm trying to come up with solutions like this that you can do to not spend a bunch of money to be able to grow your own food, because if your native soil is poor like mine, that's why I have it cover cropped and tarped, this is a secondary option. And as you can see, this is what I started with, was raised beds everywhere here. That's what I did when I first started, and then branched out. This is a pretty good option in my opinion. It's not that expensive, it's very strong and easy to do. Then you just have to find the stuff to fill it with. Like hugel culture in, I believe it may be Germany where it started, I'm not sure. But they stack up logs and cover it and cover it and cover it, and that makes your raised bed to plant on, and it just keeps adding to the raised bed. It's pretty interesting if you want to go down the rabbit hole, but I made these to be able to be moved. None of my raised beds really match. Not too bad. I'd say these are pretty cost efficient for me. You can grow quite a bit of food in one of these, actually. It looks like it's about a little over 3 foot, maybe 40 inches across. That's pretty good size for just 3 pieces of metal to make this diameter here. I didn't measure it, but it's over 3 foot. We'll keep you up to date on this stuff, and show you what we plant in these, and keep up to date if you want to see how we finish them out with whatever we put in there later. Let's go ahead and go to the greenhouse, and we'll do an update on what's going on in there. The carrots didn't quite make it. They're still going, but they took a pretty hard hit. See, they're all right, not rotten, hard as a rock. Doing pretty good still, but they're not really growing anymore because they've been probably dormant because of how cold it's been. This is, you can see all this black. They got bit back by a huge wave of frost we had come in, and I wasn't really that worried about it. I'm kind of going to treat them as a cover crop and turn them in or cover them up with a tarp or something of that nature. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with it just yet, but that's what they're going to serve as purpose. And as I said, I covered my asparagus patch over here with straw to choke the weeds out, hopefully. And you can also do that to insulate them over winter. The greenhouse is holding up pretty good. That's my asparagus patch. All the way down there. We had a huge frost, so I'm hoping they made it and didn't get froze, and that'd be bad. But so here's the onions. Now, as I said in my last video, whenever I seed started these, I took these indoors to my indoor growing station, but I seeded them out here, and I'm glad I did. You can see how good those are doing. And these were all seed started at the same time. And these are way behind. Granted, a greenhouse has been about 60 degrees, but that's still pretty good for growing onions. The other ones are way behind. These guys here popped up in 4 days roughly, which is awesome. The older seed did okay. I didn't have very many seeds in this one, but this one, these yellow onions, did not come up hardly at all. And these seeds I had that are like 8 years old, these bunching onions, if you can see that, they're coming up, which is crazy. So, as you can see, the onions are doing good. The greenhouse is doing good. Heat barrel's going. Seed germination mat's been kind of keeping them warm for them below 30 nights we've been having. I'd say it's a pretty big success. I'm telling you. I'm glad I got those raised beds out there early because, well, I like to give them a chance to break down all that material that I put in the bottom, and I cut the holes out in the bottom so the worms would have a place to go up and into the raised bed. I'm probably going to throw some in there from some topsoil that I have laying around here and get some worms coming in from the top too. And hopefully that breaks down in about a month and a half, and then I'll be able to plant some stuff in there. Probably direct seed stuff in them. I like to direct seed a lot of things in the raised beds because it's just easy. You just direct seed them and put them in there. You don't have to seed start them, use any seed start mix or anything. So this is Not a Pro Gardener here. I hope you enjoyed this one. A cheap, strong, and easy raised bed that I came up with to alleviate problems for anybody that needs to grow their own food this year cheaply. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time out there in the garden. Have a great day.